Just cannot wait to see what we all do and how many homes we sell and how many consumers we help and the excitement and the momentum that we're going to take advantage of as a brokerage when Boomsday hits next year.
Good morning. Welcome to another Motivational Monday. My name is Matthew Hodge, Executive Vice President here at LPT Realty, and I'm joined by Robert Palmer, Founder and CEO. How you doing this morning, brother?
I'm great, man. Had a fantastic Thanksgiving week. A lot of exciting stuff going on in the world, getting some good news to set us up for Boomsday, and happy to be here.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. I heard that Reagan was going to be orchestrating the entire show and planning the meal. How'd it go?
Reagan did great.
Yeah.
She might have leaned on Chef a little heavier than we initially thought, but she did great. We rotisseried a turkey out on the Gaucho Grill, which was a really fun exercise, and she nailed it, man. It was she pulled it off. She pulled off a great Thanksgiving.
Awesome.
Really
That's
cool.
so cute. That is so cute.
How about you? What was your situation?
It was good, man. Had family in town, so full house for the entire week, and kids doing Mach 7 through the house at all times. So you know how that goes. But it was great, man. It was more of like a Thanksgiving week versus an actual day, So, but it was good, man. But I'm excited to talk about some of the things that are happening in the marketplace. I know that you have been talking about Boomsday and that there's this point of convergence that's heading in the near future where the economic data is going to be just right for inventory to start to increase, interest rates to potentially come down, and then for transactions to also start to go up. And so did you receive some new news that is saying, hey, we're in line with that happening?
Yeah, so if you go back 2 weeks ago, we talked about how the likelihood of the Fed rate cut was kind of dwindling. People were thinking the Fed was not going to cut in December. And honestly, I think we still would have been fine. We've really talked about this idea of we are loading for next year. It's going to take some time for the 10-year Treasury to come down, which is ultimately what's going to drive mortgage rates down. And we need that in time for the spring buying season and into summer. That's kind of the ideal situation for Boomsday. But we're not going to see that, I don't believe, until there's clear proof that the tariffs did not create the amount of inflation that some experts thought that they would. And so what we need that first increased inflation reading to age for 12 months so the year-over-year trend can turn around. And that's going to come up early next year. However, we got some not so great economic news coming out, which is good for us, right? We're unfortunately the only industry out here that is rooting against the economy. We're rooting for bad news when it comes to economic forecasts and economic releases. Got some, and so now the chances of that Fed rate cut are back to over 80%. So 2 weeks ago, 40% chance of Fed rate cut. Fast forward to today, over 80% chance of a Fed rate cut. So I think we are going to see another quarter point cut in December at the December Fed meeting coming up here, which is, again, just going to put us in a great position because what we know is if the Fed kept the overnight rate elevated, right? Because while the overnight rate does not directly drive mortgage rates, we've seen the last two Fed cuts actually had mortgage rates getting worse. So short-term rates, the Fed rate goes down, mortgage rates go up. That's happened at the last two cuts. What we know is ultimately, though, we can't have lower mortgage rates until the Fed gets out of the way, which means they do have to cut that short-term rate, even though it's not direct cause and effect. So they're doing it. The Fed is doing their job. They're getting out of our way. They are cutting rates. They're getting that short-term rate down to a level that when the inflation numbers come down year over year early next year, which I firmly believe is going to happen, we're going to see that mortgage rate, I believe, come into that magic 5 handle that everyone's waiting for. But even before that, we're seeing home buyers start to return to the market. We've also been predicting that people have delayed this decision as long as they can. People who, we shared the story of the lady who's living in the Airstream trailer in the backyard because they don't want to sell the house and give up the super low interest rate. There is a point where life happens and you can only kick the can down the road for so long. You can only delay buying that next house and selling your current house for so long. And that's coming. And so the convergence of those two things is setting us up for Boomsday. So there were some headlines that dropped in the last week. There are some headlines that came out showing that demand is up. Mortgage application demand is up. So here we go. So first off, NAR is forecasting home sales to jump 14% next year. And then on top of that, they're projecting a 4% increase in home price. So that's a total of 18% combined increase in value of homes being sold next year. That's a good jump, man. I mean, if you think we're going to end up this year somewhere in the low 4 millions, that's putting us up like 4.6, 4.7 next year. Like that's a lot of additional home sales for LPT agents to take a disproportionate amount of because of our unfair advantage around marketing and technology. And so then on top of that, we've got this home buyers came out in force last week. So this was dated November 26th, so right before Thanksgiving. Home buyers came out in force last week and rates are trending down. So again, the headlines are starting to stack up. And what we know happens is headlines like this can actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's
right? When consumers start to see and media starts to pick up the idea that, hey, home sales are going to jump next year, interest rates are coming down next year, home buyers are coming out in force, all of that becomes self-fulfilling because that's motivating then for people to get off the fence and take action because they don't want to be late to the party. And so I think right now, as I look at the field, as I look here on the first day of December, right, we are about to close out 2025. Again, a year that we thought was maybe going to be better, wasn't great. I believe we are teed up for 2026 to be the year of the boom. And we're going to have Boomsday, and that's why we've been Boomsday prepping for months now, and for some of us years now, getting ready for this. Because remember, as a brokerage, LPT has not existed in a boom. We've only existed in like 30-year low-level home sales. You all haven't had power packs and active marketing plans and all of the amazing tools we have in a hot market. You've only had them in one of the worst markets of our lifetime. And so I just cannot wait to see what we all do and how many homes we sell and how many consumers we help and the excitement and the momentum that we're going to take advantage of as a brokerage when Boomsday hits next year. And I'm all in, man. It's coming. Everything is lining up exactly how we need it to for next year to be a banner year for this industry and particularly this brokerage and more importantly, all of our amazing agents.
Yeah, that's right, man. So I got to tell you, when you first kind of started calling for this, and I trust you because I've seen you predict some things. I'm just like, there's no way that happens. And then it ends up working out. But when you first kind of started talking about this scenario, I was like, I don't know if I see it. I really couldn't digest it. But seeing that we're slowly getting, we've been hearing it for so long, and like, okay, this is actually going to happen. There is going to be some momentum change, and we have to be ready for it. And so the people who are doing the work now, as you always describe, you're doing the hard things now that you don't necessarily get an immediate return for. You're putting yourself in position. You're looking at the vendor relationships. You're looking at this tech stack. Like, you're setting yourself up that when volume goes up, you've got a smooth operating, system to run it through. Like, that is going to be a big game changer for our agents. And so if you're just new to Motivational Monday, go back and watch some of the previous episodes. We continually talk about strategies in the market trending in this direction. If you're continuing to watch, make sure you're putting those things into action, because it's no worse feeling than having known that it was coming and then still miss it, right?
Yeah, I think that's the key. Like, speed is critical. We talked about this a lot at FallCon. Like, the speed, the agents who are able to move quickly and adapt to the increasing market will win. And again, this is going to be a once in a lifetime increase in home sales because we've survived a once in a lifetime low for existing home sales.
That's right.
All of that pain, we've talked about this, every transaction that you didn't do in 2022 and 2023 and 2024, now 2025, right? Every consumer who sat on the sidelines, who's already decided you're their agent, right? You helped them with their last house. They've known you. You've met with them. You've probably done the listing presentation here or there, had a buyer consultation with them, but they chose not to take action because their definition of where rates should be and their ideas around the market weren't lining up. Those people aren't gone, right? They didn't, whatever the need was, whatever the reason that they were thinking about taking action and didn't, still exists. And so when all of that cuts loose, when all of that momentum releases, we've talked about this idea of coiled like a spring. The market is coiled up like a spring. And when that spring explodes, you have to move with speed. And so we are running out of time to get our houses in order to be ready. Right. We're running out of time to do those vendor reviews that I talked about 3 or 4 weeks ago on Motivation Monday. We're running out of time to make sure that our tech stacks and our marketing is ready. You make sure you have that sample power pack. If you haven't ordered it, make sure you have that, in your car. Make sure you have your active marketing plans, your home buyer workbooks, all these amazing tools that we put in place for you here at LPT. Make sure you have your toolbox full. That Power Tools toolbox needs to be full, because when the shift happens, when the spring releases, when Boomsday hits, it's too late. You know, if you're trying to scramble to get things in place, it's too late. And so we are prepping, we are ready, we have done the hard work, and now we are waiting for the market to turn up, and it's coming, and everything is loading around us. And so we have to be in position, we have to be ready. And look, I know it's hard. I know we have been through more years of this than any of us thought. I mean, we've talked about how we purposely launched LPT into what I call a bust. You know, 4 million annualized home sales is a bust from a transaction, you know, unit standpoint. We didn't think it was going to last 4 years. You know, no one thought that rates were going to stay high all the way through 2025 and that home buyer demand and tight inventory would remain through this year. But here we are. But we are finally at the point where the thaw is starting. You know, we can see the cracks in the market as far as people holding back. We can see the lock-in effect starting to thaw a little bit because people have just waited as long as they can. We're getting the positive rate news. And so this is it. So buckle up. We're here in December. You know, we just came off of Thanksgiving. We're only a couple of weeks away from Christmas now. I know it's an easy time to check out. It's an easy time to lose focus, but I'm telling you, this is it. This is the last window to put in that pregame work to get ready for Boomsday because it is just around the corner.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're definitely looking forward to that. Hope you guys are locked in and ready to do the hard work. And continue moving forward. And that was a perfect example where you were saying it, like launch LPT to the bust. I'm like, who does that? Like, why would we be doing this right now? But it was totally the right call. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about some of the training because that is a way to prepare for it, right? Like you can be looking at the landscape and saying, okay, how do I continue to hone my skill, hone my craft so that I'm the best version of myself when I go out there to serve the consumers? We know we talk a lot about AI and all these other things that, you know, can be game changers and help your business. But recently we had some additional awards around training. So you want to kind of walk us through why that's important and how we plan on utilizing that in 2026?
Yeah, so we made the decision, you know, I guess going back 2.5 years ago that we were going to become the #1 training company in real estate. You know, this was a title that Keller Williams was very proud of back in kind of what I would call their heyday. You know, before you started to see some of the dysfunction show up in the franchise model. And, you know, you go back to like 2016, 2017, like peak Keller Williams, they were crushing it on training. And so we made the decision that we were going to be that. We were, you know, they had kind of lost their way around it, you know, not as focused on training. Things were getting stale. And so there was this massive opportunity for someone to step into the gap. And so we made the bold statement that starting, we announced this back in 2024, that we were going on a path to become the #1 training company in real estate. And so when we look at that, there's a group called Training Magazine. They are the foremost expert and recognized authority on how companies rank in their ability to train. And so this was the award Keller Williams used to win back in the day. And so we went all in, right? We launched our Ascend Initiative University. We took the ITT Tech campus here in Lake Mary. We set it up with our different training rooms, the door knocking room and, you know, the events room and everything we've done here. And we changed our annual conference to be all about education and training. You know, we made all of these tangible decisions to go all in on training, to make the best training available to our agents on, you know, replays, on live Zooms, in our library through Connect 2.0, inside of the building here in Lake Mary at the annual conference. And so we made all those decisions. And so last year, you know, we submitted our application to Training Magazine and we did rank, right? We were the second highest ranked real estate company last year. So we were a 2025 winner. There's a picture of, you know, I see you in there, Hodge, and Levy and Tracy and Natalie and Lewis and Lisa Spencer and Jose, like amazing folks representing us at the Training Magazine Apex Awards dinner last year. Okay. And we were the second ranked residential real estate brokers. There was one residential real estate brokerage that ranked higher than us, but we were there. And so today, actually over the weekend, we found out that we are a 2026 winner. Now, Training Magazine renamed the award from Apex to MVP Awards, but more importantly, we are the only residential real estate brokerage to be a winner this year.
Nice.
So we have achieved the goal of being the #1 ranked residential real estate brokerage, and in fact, the only ranked residential real estate brokerage by Training Magazine in 2026.
Awesome.
We pulled that off in less than 2 years. When I threw out that challenge that we were going to do that, I think, again, you guys are looking at me cross-eyed. Like,
what's happening?
There's no way we're going to become the #1 training brokerage in the industry in just 2 years. And here we sit. We spoke it into existence. We brought our overwhelming effort to effect. We went all in on the training. And look, and if you're not plugging into our training, like, let's get you plugged in. It is there. We have amazing training at all levels of this brokerage. All you have to do is plug in. And so Training Magazine has recognized us. We will find out where we ranked. So where we rank of all companies, we're going to find out in February at their awards gala here in Orlando. But we already know that we're the #1 residential real estate brokerage because we're the only residential real estate brokerage to be recognized this year by Training Magazine. So huge round of applause for all of our corporate staff who leads training, all of our agents who participate in lead training. This was a team effort. We made a decision to go all in. You all heard the call and you rose up to it and you helped us achieve this. And so thank you to everyone who played a part in this amazing victory to become the #1 training brokerage as recognized by Training Magazine, the undisputed authority on training quality.
Agreed.
#1 real estate brokerage in the world for trading.
Awesome. That's so amazing, man. So much hard work goes into that. And again, every opportunity for you to be successful is here. You just have to define what that is for yourself. And the only thing that left after that is the work to make that happen, But once you identify, hey, this is what I'm looking like, what success looks like for me, just do the work to get there, and you have all the tools in the middle to get there. And so it's so exciting to see our team be rewarded that way. But more importantly, think about the benefit to the agents. Like, you're at a place where you've got multiple comp plans, you've got the foresight, you've got your hindsight here to see, like, hey, here's what's coming around the corner. You've got all the tools in training. Like, it's a great place to be. It's a great time to be in real estate. And I know it feels tough, but I know that we're about to be at that rebound, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, it was a huge part of our commitment to preparing for Boomsday. Boomsday prepping included having the best training. It's something we had to go all in on, where, again, it started as hey, we're going to go win this thing. It became so much more than that because we see the results. We see agents closing extra transactions. We get so many messages from agents that are like, man, I used the tools and I got that listing I didn't think I would get, or I beat out the other agent in the neighborhood who usually always wins the listings because I showed up my power pack, or hey, I took my home buyer workbook and my 7 home buyer strategies magazines, and I gave them to a buyer on that first internet lead showing, and they were so impressed they stuck with me, and they actually referred me clients before I even helped them close. These are the stories that we hear over and over again. But what we realized is the tools are worthless if you don't use them, and you can't use them if you don't understand how to use them. And so that was our decision to go all in on training, and again, meeting everyone where they are. Live training, pre-recorded training, in-person training. We've really dominated every space of training in the industry, and we're bringing new, fresh ideas to the table because, look, we're not a 30-year-old brokerage, not a 40-year-old brokerage, right? We're not marching out training programs that were written in 1980. We weren't around in 1980. Everything we are building for you guys is current and up to date, and post-COVID, post that last real estate boom. It was written for how to survive a bust, how to be intentional and be productive and win in a 4 million home sales market. Because I promise you, if you can win in a 4 million home sales market, buckle up at 4.6, buckle up at 4.7. If we get back to 5.5, which I think we're headed to, which by historic standards is not all that exciting, it's going to feel like an absolute insane market, an explosion for everyone. And we are prepared. We are ready. We are trained. We have the tools. We have the knowledge. And again, if you don't plug in, there's time, right? We have the month of December. You have time. Get into Connect 2.0. Plug into boot camp. Plug into the trainings we're doing. Plug into the Zoom recordings. Everything is there for you. And again, if you had doubts about the quality of our training, now you know this is not a waste of your time. The undisputed experts on ranking training have spoken, and LPT has the mo. We have the momentum, we have the mojo, we have it, and you should tap into it. And so if you haven't, I would encourage you, I would challenge you plug in today. Grab a course, go on there, plug into something that is available in Connect, plug into a resource, and watch the impact it will make in your business as we get ready for this boom.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so wanted to maybe ask some questions around how, if someone's listening to this and they want to start explaining this to their customers or their sellers, to say, hey, the market's changing. Here's how we're thinking about it. What are some quick things that they can say maybe to a seller or to a buyer, just to help them understand maybe what this change will look like in the next couple of months?
It's interesting. Some things like I think headlines about inventory increasing are actually positive for us. Mm-hmm. I know there's some that are using it as like fear-based clickbait, like, oh, the market's crashing because inventory, is increasing. I don't view it that way. We are moving back to more normalized inventory levels. Like by historic standards, inventory has been too tight for too long. It was one of the lingering after effects of COVID. It was a lingering after effect of the Fed driving rates too low and creating this massive lock-in effect. So where are we today? Inventory is increasing. What does that mean? That means the lock-in effect is thawing, right? That's the proof that the lock-in effect is starting to thaw because we are seeing inventory increase. People who a year ago were saying, I'm not going to sell my home until rates come down, are now suddenly listing their home, right? Because we've seen this increase in inventory. So that's important. And your sellers and buyers need to understand that. What does that mean for the market? Interest rates are poised to drop. We have the Fed dropping. I think we're going to see another Fed rate cut in December. The traders, the options traders all agree. They're betting over 80% chance of that Fed rate cut. I do not think that will result in an immediate reduction in mortgage rates, though. I don't think we're going to see the reduction in mortgage rates until early next year, until, again, that first inflation report on the 1-year anniversary of the tariffs going into effect, showing that those inflation readings are starting to recede from those elevated levels that we saw as the initial reaction to the tariffs. And we're already starting to see that trend start now, so it's only going to get stronger. And so buyers and sellers need to understand the wave is coming, right? NAR is predicting this 14% increase. That means there will be 14% more buyers competing with you on the listings, right? That means there will be 14% more people out there looking to buy, which is going to ultimately create more inventory because most of those buyers are also a seller, right? We're seeing a lot of folks, they have a home to sell, they have a home to buy. It's 2 transactions. Like we all understand this. Make sure that your consumers understand, right? That the rates coming down, the long-term mortgage rate starting to come down next year, which is now poised based on the Fed getting out of the way by cutting short-term rates, combined with this increase in inventory, which is the early signs of the thawing of the lock-in effect, is going to drive this increased transaction. So the consumers who are serious about buying or selling next year need to start to get into position now, right? They need to be ready too. Because just like speed benefits us as industry experts, as agents, speed will also benefit those buyers and sellers who can catch the early part of that wave, who are in the market, they have their pre-approval in hand or they have their proof of funds in hand, and they are ready to go so that as more inventory comes on the market, they can move quickly and find that perfect property and get it under contract with the help of an amazing LPT agent and realize that dream of home ownership for first-time home buyers, or realize that life improvement of getting out of the home that's too small or getting out of the home that's on the wrong part of town and getting into that next perfect home for them. And we are setting up for next year to be in position for that. So keep doing the hard work, keep having the conversations, keep checking on your people, right? Stay in touch with your sphere. That is one of the greatest things we can do during the holidays. Reach out to your folks, talk to your past clients, talk to your friends, your family. You got to wish them a happy Thanksgiving. We've got the Christmas holidays coming up. It's a great time of year to reach out to folks. We've got agents out there dropping off pumpkin pies and, poinsettia bushes, like all these different things, great touch points to get back in front of our folks. And this is the year to put the effort forward because this is the year that is poised for the boom. And so stay committed, stay focused, pick up some training, get into Connect, get motivated, get rejuvenated, put your boots on and get out there and do the work because this is the year it's going to pay off. 2026 is the year that we all win together. And I am so excited to win with all of you because we've had it, right? We've been winning at a level that's above the market, but we haven't had the big win together yet because we haven't had a boom. And I am so excited that we get to be in this next boom together. And I'm so thankful for our amazing LPT family because we are going to crush 2026 as a team.
I think we just dropped it right there.
All right, let's go. See you guys next week on Motivation Monday.